All right, gentlemen, it is story time. I know we haven't done one of these in a while, but this story is very befitting for today's coaching video because I believe I have just met the world's dumbest and most entitled single mom on the planet. And after you hear the story, you are going to understand why I just do not feel sympathy for these single mothers when they get backed out there on the dating market. So, on Saturday, I went to an event for my entrepreneurs group. As you guys know, I have an entrepreneurs group in Santa Monica, and we had an event there. We had some top-level entrepreneurs come, and at these events, we allow people to bring their spouse or at least one friend with them. So, this woman in my group brought her friend with her because her friend had nothing else to do, so she tagged her along, and then she goes, "Oh, let me introduce you to Matt. Matt's a dating coach, and she was just telling me about this guy she was supposed to go on a date with. Maybe you can help her." And I'm like, okay, sure. And so I get to talking with her. She tells me she is a 41-year-old divorced single mother. Okay, you heard that correct. 41 years old, divorced single mom, with 2 kids. First thing I asked, why'd you divorce your husband? Because he was an alcoholic. So, divorced single mom with 2 kids from an alcoholic dude that she just left a few years ago. Okay, and she tells me, she goes on to tell me, I just met a guy who lives in Florida, and he wanted to take me to Disney World. I'm like, okay, tell me about this guy. Dude is a successful entrepreneur. Okay? He is a multimillionaire who has not 1 Lambo, but 2 Lambos. Okay, 2 Lambos. Lives on, I guess it's like a beachfront property on the water. So obviously he is crushing it. Clearly he needs to be in mastery, right? Clearly, right? He should know better. But I already knew what this dude was thinking. He was thinking, I'm going to get a quick lay out of this. But regardless, she goes on to tell me, successful guy, about her age, early 40s, good looking dude, right? Showed me his photos. I was like, okay, looks like a pretty quality dude. No chat or anything like that, but it's a pretty decent looking guy, very successful. And she goes on to tell me, oh, he doesn't have any kids of his own, no baggage, no ex-wives, no divorces or anything like this. Just a free agent, clear and free, high value dude. Okay, and you might think like, wow, why is he talking to this single mom? Yeah, he does need mastery. Well, she, just to play devil's advocate, even though she was 41 years old, she clearly looked like she could have been a model back in her 20s, right? I mean, she wasn't bad looking. I will give her that. As a lot of these women who are still single into their 30s, 40s are, right? They're still pretty good looking. She was very fit, by the way. She was thin. She was attractive. I will give her that. However, it does not change the fact that she's a divorced single mom with 2 kids that she is raising on her own. So, she proceeds to tell me that she met this guy who is a successful business owner, okay, with 2 Lambos and the beachfront property. She said that she met him on some dating app. What have I told you guys about these dating apps? Just get off of them, okay? Meets this guy on a dating app, and she's like, he invites her to come out, she invited herself actually. Right? She says something like, I've never been to Disney World. And he was like, oh, yeah, because I think he was saying that he was going to go there and he'd never been there. And then she said, oh, well, I should go there. I should go there with you. And then we can both go to Disney World. So he goes, yeah, that's great. When do you want to do it? And she gives him some dates. She's like, okay, these are the dates. Let's do it. And he goes, okay, cool. I'll make the arrangements, which he did. She said he went ahead and got like one of the best hotels in the area, told her that he was to bring like a nice dress because he was going to take her to some like like high class, like seafood restaurant, because they said they both like seafood. Personally, I'm allergic to seafood, so I don't eat seafood. So he says, I'm going to take you to a seafood restaurant, and we're going to go, and you're going to stay in this hotel with me. She's agreeing to all this. He's got her covered. He's telling her, hey, you don't need to worry about a thing once you get here to Florida. I'm going to take care of everything. So I'm like, okay, this sounds too good to be true almost. And I said, what was the problem? She goes, you know where it went wrong? And I'm like, where did it go wrong? And she says, well, I told him, why didn't you book my plane ticket? And I'm like, but isn't he paying for everything else? And then she's like, yeah, but it's just more of the like manly thing to do to, also take care of the rest of the arrangement. And I'm like, well, that would give you all the leverage, right? I go, essentially, he would be left holding the bag if you, for whatever reason, decide not to show up and, flake on it. And I said, that happens all the time. I go, I've gotten a lot of guys who were on these dating apps previously telling me these horror stories. And I've seen these horror stories and read about them, like how guys will travel halfway across the world to meet some chick and then land in that person's country only for her to not pick up the phone, right? So she said, okay, I could see that. And she goes, actually, he did say something similar. And she showed me his text, and he had a very fair text, by the way. He just said, hey, I'm taking care of everything else. He goes, it's not the money. Right? Clearly it wasn't the money. He goes, it's just the fact that I want to know that you have some skin in the game, at least for our first date. I just need to know you have some skin in the game, so you don't leave me here on my own at Disney World and just not show up. Because he's like, if I, basically what I said, if he pays for everything, she has all of, the advantage and no disadvantage. And he is just really at her vulnerability, right? He's at her mercy that she will show up. So she goes, yeah. She goes, I could totally get that, but and then she just shows me her reply to him, and she basically tells this guy, like, oh, I thought that we had great conversation, and I thought that I made a good enough impression, but apparently maybe it wasn't good enough, and you're still doubting me. And I was thinking to myself, lady, you are a divorced single mother. You have 2 children now that you are raising on your own. You're not getting any younger. Okay, you just met a guy who has no baggage whatsoever, no ex-wives coming after him. A high-value dude who is even willing to give you a shot. Granted, he probably just wants to get laid because he saw you on a dating app. And I'm like, I mean, she looked decent in person, so I can imagine how she looked on the dating app. Probably even better on the dating apps. And he was thinking, okay, I'm gonna just at least throw her a bang, whatever. But in her mind, she's a woman. She doesn't know all that, right? And really, too, like I told her, I'm like, you have a window to get this guy, regardless, right? And that is where the entitlement goes through the roof. And it's like, so it wasn't enough that this guy was willing to take you to the finest hotel, to stay with him there, take you to the finest seafood restaurant, to pay for the tickets at Disney World. I didn't even mention that. How much are tickets at Disney World, guys? I don't even know. What's that going to cost for 2 people for a 3-day pass? $400, right? The hotel itself for 3 days, at least $1,000 if it's a nice hotel. Restaurant, food for 3 days, he's taking care of all that. That's another $500. We're talking about $2,000 right there. Okay, her plane ticket. I asked her, I go, what was the flight? How much did the flight cost round trip? She goes, I looked it up. It was only a couple $100s. I go, okay, clearly it wasn't the money if he's willing to drop $2,000. Clearly, this was him wanting to get some type of investment from you, at least initially, right? And she goes, I guess so. And I said, so you completely just call this a deal breaker and call the whole thing off because of the plane ticket? And she said, yes. And I go, how often do you meet guys like this? She goes, almost never. I go, okay, what do you do for a living? She tells me she's an elementary school teacher. She teaches first grade. I go, does that pay well? She goes, not really. And I go, do you live in a major city like SF city, Los Angeles or New York? No, she lives in this small suburb in the middle of nowhere with like a 300 person population. I go, when's the last time you've seen a Lamborghini in that neighborhood? Never. Is there any beachfront property there? No. Are there any guys like this in your neighborhood? Absolutely not. I go, okay, so you found one. And you're going to blow this whole deal because he asked you to put some skin in the game and just buy your own plane ticket for the first time. I'm sure maybe the second time, as soon as you establish something, he probably would have taken care of that, right? She goes, yeah, actually he did say that. He goes, it's just, I need you to contribute something for the first time. Just do some type of contribution. No. She goes, no, I was willing to give him my driver's license too. I just met him online. I was going to give him my driver's license to book my plane ticket. So I was just kind of like looking at her just dumbfounded. And the only thing that was going through my head was to do this coaching video today to share this story with you guys and be like, this is how these women end up becoming single moms. This is how these women end up becoming the DG. They do it to themselves, right? And this is why also too, when feminists argue the gender pay gap, and one of the big points is that women don't negotiate as hard as men. It's not that women don't negotiate as hard. It's just that they are terrible negotiators. Okay? They are just terrible at negotiating, whether it's for a job, whether it's for a car, whether it's in a relationship. They're terrible negotiators because it's their whole process for negotiating is it's my way or the highway. Okay? If you don't do it my way, you're just a shameful little man. It's all about a power trip. It's all about ego. They don't know how to give a little to get a little. But in this case, she was going to get a whole lot if she just gave a little bit, right? I'm like, I literally asked her, I had to ask her on 3 separate occasions. I said, so let me get this straight. You blew this whole thing. You just called this whole thing off because of the $200 plane ticket, even though he was going to spend at least probably around a couple of grand, right? With everything. He was going to take care of everything. I go, you didn't want to do the plane ticket? And then she just said, well, a gentleman, right, would pay for the woman's ticket. I go, he's like paying for everything else though. Yeah, I was just like thinking to myself, okay, I said, personally, if that was me and I was in this situation and I'm like, oh, by the way, is this guy an alcoholic like your ex-husband? No, he doesn't even drink. I go, okay, and you're telling me you don't run across guys like this every day? No, never. And you're gonna pass him up and completely throw him back in the water because he asked you to make this small contribution, right? I go, do you not have money right now? Is the plane ticket out of your price range? Did you tell him like, hey, I need help with this? And she said, no, that's not the problem. I have the money to buy the plane ticket. Okay, so you rather blow the deal and stay on the dating apps, right? I'm like, are you coming across guys like this all the time on these dating apps you're on? Mm-mm. So I told her essentially if I were in her position and I just got divorced from an alcoholic dude, right, who couldn't stop drinking, who ruined our marriage, and you live in this small town where there's no high value guys, there's no chance of meeting anyone with money, and you're a 40, you're in your early 40s. I was like, If I were you, I would have done things completely different, and in not so many words. I mean, I essentially told her, I mean, if I were her, this is just me, I would have been like, dude, not only will I pay for the plane ticket, but don't worry, I'll get the Disneyland tickets as well, right? I would have taken care of at least close to half of it. Since he's doing the hotel, he's taking care of the food. And I said, just because he is a guy with money, I go, as somebody who's, financially well off myself, successful these days, I don't like to be taken advantage of either. I would see that as that. I was like, I would want that person to contribute a little bit as well, right? And then she was like, "Oh, are you like that with your girlfriend? You just expect her to pay for everything?" I go, "No, I don't expect her to pay for everything." And she doesn't, no, she's younger and she doesn't have like that great of a job yet, but she does buy me things like that are, that she can afford, right? If it's a Starbucks I want, a Frappuccino or something, or if we go through fast food, I don't have to look at my wallet or anything. She whips out her credit card, right? She does those things. "Oh, you don't think that's like, emasculating?" I go, "No, I think that's, I think that's very flattering for her to do that because she's a good-looking chick, And she was like, "Yeah, it's because so she could get, she could get another guy like you." And I go, "And I can get another girl like her." Right? I made that clear. So, I mean, this is why I'm telling a story too. It's not like she was like the nicest person in the world either. So, I mean, not only did this guy dodge a bullet, but I know what he was thinking, and he probably just wanted to throw her a bang because I said, "Have you heard from him since?" She goes, "No, he stopped that was it. He didn't reach out to me again." And I was like, "Oh, are you surprised by that?" It's like, "Yeah." Right. And again, because she's still somewhat attractive for being in her 40s, a lot of these females have that problem, these former hotties. They think that the guys will just continue to come around, right? And she doesn't realize that, she just really blew it. And I've seen so many women in the past, not just her, totally just blow the opportunity to land a good guy over the most mundane things because they let their ego get in the way, because they didn't place any value on the other person, right? And I called her out on that. I go, "Do you place value on what he's bringing into the table? Because you're saying yourself, you don't come across these guys every day, right? These guys are kind of rare." And I told her, I go, "These are generally the guys that a lot of women want." And she admitted that. She goes, "Oh, I have no doubt that he has women after him." And I'm like, "Okay, so, what exactly are you looking for?" And then she goes, "Well, I want a guy who's a gentleman, who is like chivalrous, traditional, blah, 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 blah." And I said, "Okay, does it matter if he has money or not?" "Well, no, I want him to have his life together and all this." She described basically this dude to the next level. He's like that and then some, but yet she just blows this whole deal because, oh no, that $200 plane ticket, after you're spending $2,000 on me for that weekend, no. But he didn't reach out to her again because, again, it was just for him. It's like he saw probably like a former hottie that looked like a model, 41 years old, I'll throw her a bang, right? But for her, I mean, if I was a female, and this goes for all these dumbass divorced single moms on the dating apps thinking, "Oh no, I deserve. If that were me, right? If I was a divorced 41-year-old single mom with 2 kids in tow, just divorced my alcoholic ex-husband, and this dude came along, you know what I would be doing? I would be emptying my bank account and being like, okay, I've got to try to win this guy over. As soon as he's like, "Oh, you just buy your plane ticket and I'll take care of everything once you get here," I would be like, let me take care of the Disneyland tickets. And not only that, like, hey, let me help pay for the seafood restaurant. And, whatever the bill is at the hotel, I want to help. I would be telling him that, even though he can afford it, because there's nothing worse to turn a guy off, especially a high value guy off, or any guy, than to show an appreciation. And this is why this guy stopped responding to her, is because all he saw was a selfish, entitled, unappreciative, like aging former hottie that with 2 kids, divorced single mom, that wasn't worth it, right? Just not worth it. I'm sure this dude would dish out and be like, yeah, I'll buy that plane ticket if she was 21 still. If she was some 21-year-old chick and it's like, I'll stay in that hotel with you and all this, he would have been like, yeah, I'll pay you that plane ticket. But that was the deal breaker where he was like, you know, I'm paying for everything else. I'm spending a couple of grand. Screw this chick. And he was like, stay a divorced single mom in your small, you know, crap town with loser dudes. Stay there. Stay there. And you know what? She will, unfortunately, right? Or fortunately, whatever. She will. She'll stay there. And I mean, she does a disservice to her kids too. But if I were her, again, I would have been telling that dude, like, not only will I buy my own plane ticket, I will buy the Disneyland tickets too, right? And I'm going to help with the dinner, and I'm going to try to help with the hotel as best as I can. And you know, that guy would probably be like, no, I got it. But just the fact that you're offering and you're trying to contribute something, you know, and just be honest and be like, sorry, I'm just a first grade teacher, and but I want to do what I can. And then when you get there, you know, bring that guy a gift. I would bring him a gift from whatever crap town you're from. Just bring him a small gift or something that he mentioned he likes, or maybe even a dessert he liked, maybe a box of candy or something that he said he liked, or some whatever, right? Bring him that. Okay, bring him that. If you really want to get this guy, you got a shot at high value guy, you bring him these things. And then when you get there, you ask him about himself. What made you want to start your business? And what drove you as a child? You know, I want to know more about you. What was your upbringing like? And what brought you to the place you're in now? I would generally want to know about him and not sit there and talk about myself and how great I am. Oh yeah, I'm lucky to be with me. All these stupid, you know, puddly little men I dated in the past, they didn't deserve me, you know, but you better show me a good time, mister. That's how so many modern women are today that are still single. That's why they stay single, right? And I mean, even me just talking to this divorced single mom, I cut the conversation probably after 10 minutes. I mean, it seemed like we were talking longer, but that was it. I just said, well, I have to get back to my event, but good luck with that. I didn't say nice meeting you or anything like that, because it was not nice. It was just, and I kind of gave Julie, her name's Julie, her friend that brought her, I kind of gave her this dirty look, like, I just gave her that, like, don't ever do that to me again, right? Don't have me dole out free advice to some divorced single mom, because Julie's seen my channel. I'm like, just don't do that to me, right? However, I did tell her, I said, hey, if for any reason you get that guy's information, can you please turn him on to my channel, right? Because he needs it. And I go, your friend's a nightmare. That chick, I had no problem telling her. I don't even care if she tells her that. I was like, your friend is a nightmare, and I'm not surprised she's divorced. I feel bad for those kids. You know, that's all there is to say. So, but yeah, you cannot make this stuff up, man. A 41-year-old divorced single mom, I met myself in person, had a conversation with, that even if she didn't tell me the story, just the way she was talking and just kind of like the lack of respect, as much as she said, you know, she wants to be feminine in a relationship. She doesn't want to be masculine. She was still acting very masculine and kind of demeaning towards this guy who she admitted had many options outside of her. And obviously she said, I know he could get much younger, much more attractive women. I mean, I was just astounded. I'm like, then how can you sit there and make demands on this guy who you know has options? How can you sit there and demand that this dude also just fund your plane ticket as well when he's paying for literally everything else, right? So, and it was over the fact that she says, it wasn't that she couldn't afford her plane ticket. It was the fact that, no, it's, you know, it's more gentlemanly if he just did that for me because, you know, I want to feel feminine. I'm like, oh my God, this chick is so stupid. She is so stupid. I mean, if she just did that for him, I mean, she would have had a shot. I mean, you know, like I said, I would have gone the extra ends and gotten this guy gifts, offered to pay for much more than just my plane ticket, and at least tried to win him over. Sure, he'd still probably just want to bang, right? But I would, if I was her, I would have at least tried to win this guy over, to give myself a shot at him. And you don't know. I mean, some guys, might do it, but I don't know him, but maybe he wouldn't have. But regardless, I mean, it was just crazy, right? It was no different than the single moms we cover here on my channel. This is why I have just zero sympathy for them. They cannot spot a high value guy if the guy was standing in front of them, and even if they could, they don't know how to treat that guy. This is why these chicks they can't hang on to men, right? I'm not even surprised that she picked some alcoholic dude as her husband. I mean, to her credit, she said she was married to that guy for 20 years. She said he was her high school sweetheart, married him. They stayed married for 20 years and they just kind of grew apart, but they had kids later on. So now she's kind of stuck with those kids. But so Grant, to her credit, they stayed together for a couple of decades. It's great. And she also said too, I mean, I also wanted to ask her if her ex-husband was a Chad, and I didn't say that word, but I just said, because she was pretty tall. That's why I suspected she had been a model previously. She said no, she'd never modeled, but she was like about 5'8". She was almost my height. She was about like right here. I'm like 5'10", so she was like right here. And she goes, no, my husband was not 6 feet. He was 5'8". So I'm like, okay, she married a short dude, but it made sense that she met him in high school, right? Obviously. Yeah, met him in high school, stayed married for 2 decades, and then they got divorced around 2016. She says she's kind of dated since then, nothing serious, probably slept with those dudes, that's what that means. But she did say that the last couple of guys she went on a date with, she's like, well, she just said, I told him I wasn't feeling it and just wanted to be friends. And I said, did you relay this information to the dude in Florida? And she goes, yeah, I told him I went on a couple of dates. It didn't work out. That I wasn't attracted to them and I just want to be friends. And I go, did it cross your mind that after telling him that's also probably why he wanted you to buy your own plane ticket, because he didn't want you to just fly out there and him pays for everything and then you just tell him you just want to be friends? Did that cross your mind either? Because that's probably also what he was thinking was, okay, I'm going to spend all this money for this chick to not only have all the leverage, have the power to flake on me and not have to spend a dime out of her own pocket if she does decide not to show up. But also she could just show up, I could spend all this money, and then she just tells me she wants someone to be friends. Right? I mean, yeah, I told her, I said, quite honestly, I think the plane ticket was just more than fair. I go, personally, I would never do something like that for somebody who I meet online. I told her, part of my teachings, I meet women in person, and I teach my students to meet women in person. She goes, oh yeah, I like that much better. And I'm like, well, it wouldn't change the fact that if you did meet a guy and you were in the same situation, if he didn't offer to buy your plane ticket, but offer to buy everything else, you'd still give him the same response. She's like, of course I would, of course. And I'm like, I go, and you've never met a guy like this in your town? No, they don't exist. Never met a guy with a Lambo? Nope. That wanted to go on a date with you? Nope. Never met a guy who offered to take you on this Disney World trip in Florida? Nope. But you're gonna pass this up because he said, get your own plane ticket and show me that you're not gonna flake on me. Yup. Goodness gracious. Drop your comments below, guys. Let me know what you think of tonight's coaching video. This is exactly why I tell you to stay away from these single moms. Drop your comments in tonight's coaching video. Anything you want to say, anything you want to add, anything you want to share, drop them below. As always, this is M from the 33 Secrets signing out. Don't forget to smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, smash that notification bell for me as well. Helps me out a ton with the YouTube algorithm. And for you guys who want to support my work, best way to do that is just jump into 7 months Mastery Son. Right now, it's only $1 for the entire first month of coaching lessons from me. So take advantage of it. It is the absolute best way to support my work. If you love what I'm teaching you here, I will teach you how to avoid these single moms, how to go out there and approach the younger women under 30, 8s, 9s, and 10s, they're young, fertile, how to meet those chicks, right? And yes, that's Cash snoring back there in the background. There's Gizmo on one of those pillows. Until next time, gentlemen, I'm out.